Well, it took me most all of the day, but I got this shop cleaned up. I'm cleaning up the shop so I can do a little more work on the dinghy. I'll show you what I'm going to do with the dinghy once I get it in here. We've had several motors on this dinghy. This dinghy has been serving us really well. But we started with a 15 horse Johnson that was pull start, that one over there. And I didn't like that because where it started fairly easy, it's still a 2-stroke motor and sometimes you have to pull them several times to get them to start, and that's kind of a pain. So I wanted an electric start, so I got another I got a little 15 horse, that's a 9.9. And it was electric start, or I did the same thing that I'm doing here. It was electric start, but batteries are too heavy for what we're wanting to do here. And that little motor works great until you got 3 people in there and then some groceries or something heavy, and then the boat wouldn't get on the plane. And I don't think I want to put myself in that position. So I got on the internet and I found this motor, and it is just a tiller, but it's, again, just full start. And I knew that I could probably do this if I wanted to. This motor starts really good, but again, every once in a while they'll get flooded or something. And this being, it's a motor, but it's Mercury type. You can't run the throttle and pull the cord at the same time. It won't let you. And sometimes it'll get flooded and it's hard to start. So anyway, I'm going to make this motor an electric start and put it back on a 20 volt battery, and I'll walk you through all that. This is my pieces. I got this kit from Dave's Marine. It's a used kit. Mike was nice enough to sell that to me at a good price. It comes with all the cables, all the bolts, the stator, which I will explain why I will not use, and all the little stuff to make it work, and the instructions. That is what we need, and this is what we need, and this. So the way these electric start kits work is the ring gear goes on underneath this flywheel right here. Starter bolts on right here. So the starter goes there, ring gear. So all we should have to do is pull this recoil off of there, and then we'll pull the flywheel off and we'll get started from there. This little linkage there will just pop off. Hope you guys can see that. This should just kind of come out of the way there. Should be able to just stay there. That didn't break. That is what it does. Kind of scares the bejesus out of you when it does it, though. Okay. I'll take the bolt out. And the reason that's that way is because it's tapered. There's a taper right there. And it, gets kind of seized on there. So the only reason we're taking that off is to put this on. And it's got tapers, so it shows you just exactly how it goes on, which is handy dandy. Hardware's in here. Should be these 4 tapered screws here. Make sure everything fits. Oh, But yeah, that gear just goes on there like that. Let's see if I got any Loctite. I'm not sure if I do have a Loctite. I think it would be in there if I had it. And so I'm probably going to shut my cameras off for a little bit and go get me some Loctite, because I'm not going to put that together without Loctite. Because as you can imagine, if you put that together without Loctite and one of them bolts start coming out of there, it will wear a hole in this water jacket and that will ruin that engine. So we are going to go get some Loctite. We are back from the store. So we had everything we needed here. I'll explain that later. This is our Loctite that they wanted. Also, there was a little warning on there about if there was any factory paint drippings around here, that would keep it from being flat or on the flywheel, and I think everything looks fine. Put this down here before I cut myself for the second time today. I want to explain a little bit of something here. So this kit comes with this rectifier and charge coil to replace this charge coil. This charge coil just runs the spark, the power that the motor needs. This would charge the battery. But I need to explain, I'm not going to change this. I'm going to keep this, but I'm not going to change this because it won't charge the battery that I'm using anyway. I'm going to use that 20 volt battery, and this will only charge at about 14 something, 14.2, 14.4 maybe. And boats are not known for having very good charge capacity anyway, but it's not enough voltage to charge. So I'm not going to put that on. I'm just going to put the flywheel back on. Actually, I'm going to put the starter on over here first and figure out where the solenoid goes. But I just wanted to explain why I wasn't putting all the parts on, because it will not charge that battery anyway. And as you can imagine, this battery right here doesn't weigh anything, doesn't weigh hardly anything. And I will use one of these to power this outlet, and then I will use this. The engine cables go into that and plug into that. And the reason that I do that is so that I can still take this motor off without unwiring anything. That plug has plenty of amperage load capacity that I can put that plug in underneath here facing down, so I don't have any water problems, and I can just plug that in. And then if I want to remove that motor, say put it inside if we're going to be gone for a while, that way I can unplug that, take that motor off, and put it inside and have it safe. So this part here should be fairly straightforward. Oh, one more thing that you can do here, because the positive cable goes right on the end of these bolts. So it's best to get a file. The positive cable will go right on the end of there. You can probably kind of see that it used to go there. And these are don't have any paint on them. And so if you just take that paint off of there, then it will reduce a future headache. This part of the video I sped up because it's kind of like watching paint dry. What I'm doing here is just fitting the starter and the starter cables, getting them through the grommet and the cowl, as you can see there. And I'll be fitting the solenoid and putting these wires in place where they go. I will put a spot in this video where you can pause it and see where and how I put all the wires under the cowl. That is the positive cable that goes from the bottom of the starter over to the solenoid. And yeah, a lot of this is just fitting and getting those wires in there where they're out of the way and aren't going to rub on each other. So I pretty much got that all lined out, and now I'm ready for dinner. So I'm gonna shut this off for a day and finish this tomorrow. This is absolutely a must. Good morning. Here we are back on this little dinghy project. We're gonna continue this now and get the flywheel put on. We've started putting the starter on, get the motor part of it fixed up, and then we'll do the wiring. I got the starter wire, and it'll go on one of these posts. This positive wire will go back in here on this post. Other thing I got to do here is figure out where I'm going to put this button. So the best place to put this button would probably be in this area right here. I'm just bending these terminals here for a little more clearance. Makes the wires fit a little better in there. So I think that'll work. Just want to shorten these. I'm going to temporarily hook up a battery here so I can make sure I wire that button correctly. Okay, found some wire nuts. Like I said, this will get properly put together, but I want to make sure that I'm wiring the switch right. So there is our power. We got 20 volts there. I think what we have to do is ground one of these and ignite the other. So that is what we have to do. We have to ground one and ignite the other. So now we just got to make a couple of little jumpers. I'll get a kit and make a couple of little leads here. You can pause the video here to see how I did all the wiring under the cowl. All right, now we'll put our flywheel back on. Put that not on run so that it don't start. And it blew the fuse, which I thought might happen. Okay, so as you can see, that blows that fuse on that. So what I'm going to do is go to the automotive store and buy a different type of fuse to put in there and see if I can get that to work. On the little 15 horse, it worked just fine. It didn't blow a fuse. This draws a little bit more amperage. So I have to do a little looking here and figure out how to fix this. Okay. I just wanted to show you what I got to make this work. It had a 30 amp fuse in this fuse holder here, and that wasn't enough to carry the amperage. So what I did was went and got a 40 amp breaker. I think a breaker is a better idea here because if I'm out on the dinghy and something happens and that blows, I won't have a fuse, but these are self-resetting. I just temporarily did this here so that we could see. And it turns over just fine with that 40 amp. I'm satisfied that that's not going to be you know, the wires aren't getting hot. Nothing silly is going on. Well, I wanted to show you this setup here. So here's my battery adapter and my breaker. Put some good ends on them. I've got this outlet here that I'll wire into that. And then I paid attention to what direction this plug plugs in. My power cables to my outboard will go here. And all of this will mount nicely underneath that bench seat, so it will all be facing down. Be very little chance of water intrusion. This should work pretty good. All right, I just want to show you what I got going. I've got it all roughed in here. So I've got the battery, the breaker, and the plug-in, and I'm just deciding where I want this, because I'm going to mount it underneath here like that. So it'll be the battery with enough room for me to get it out of there, the breaker, and the plug-in all upside down there. If anybody out there has used these batteries or this type of thing to power, you know, anything else that normally wouldn't be powered by these batteries, drop it in the comments. I would love to hear what other people have done with these batteries, because they just seem so versatile and a cool way to power things. Yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys have done with these. This will be kind of difficult to show, but this is my leads to the motor, and this is our setup underneath there, the battery, the breaker, and the plug-in. Just plug that in, and we make sure that it's in neutral. There will be no neutral safety. You can put the neutral safety on, but I did not put the neutral safety on. There's the switch. Now we have an electric start motor that we don't have to jerk on the rope if it happens to get flooded. That's a pretty simple deal. It's really light. It's easy to use. Here's how you change the battery. You just pull it out, change the battery. I'll put this all back together here. And last year I did the same exact thing for my chart plotter. And I was going to use the same battery, but you do need to, on a little chart plotter most of the time, some of them don't, some of them do, but they need to be closer to 12 volts. So I got this little rectifier here that knocks it down to 12 volt. But the good thing about this setup is I'll always have a spare battery. So I'll have a battery in that to run the chart plotter, and I'll have a battery for the start motor. If one or the other one goes dead, then I have another battery. Okay, so this is the final product of our dinghy projects here. We got all that wire kind of tidied up and taken care of. As you can see underneath here is the battery for the starting motor, and that's the plug-in right here. So that's easily unplugged and plugged back in there. So that unhooks the motor. This battery over here is for our chart plotter and runs that. So we always have a spare battery either way. That's going to make it a lot easier, make me feel a lot better. Now you can still pull start the motor, but right back there is the switch like I showed you earlier. And it just fires right up. So that's the end of this little dinghy project. With any luck at all, maybe this helps somebody out if you're looking for a solution for a lighter way to power your boat. These 20 volt DeWalt batteries work very well for this. Whatever brand of cordless, say 20 volt equipment that you have on your boat will also work. They make these same adapters in Black & Decker. They make them in Milwaukee, DeWalt, Ryobi. They make these adapters for different batteries. I don't have any experience with the other ones. I've just been using these DeWalt batteries. I'm excited about trying it out. It's up to about 20 degrees now, and We've got just a couple more months and we are taking off and start a big adventure up the Mississippi River, and we'll bring you guys all along with that. Hope this helps you out. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next video.